Yay!
Hello.
Hello. I
Oh my
could see
goodness.
you, but I couldn't. Hello, everybody who's there. Hello to everybody. First of all, I could see you, but I couldn't join on with the video.
Oh no. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so
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 sorry
I saw
about
you talking, and I saw you talking, and I was like, I'm here, everybody. I'm
that.
here.
I'm here, you just can't see me.
Correct,
Um,
correct.
well, I am so happy that we finally got this up and running. Welcome everybody.
Thank you. This is my
Um,
first live TikTok.
is it? Oh, that's
Yes.
an honor. How
Yeah, so
exciting.
pretty special. I've only been on TikTok for a year, so there you go, guys.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So my name's Hannah. I'm from Booktopia,
Hmm.
and I'm obviously joined here this evening by the man, the myth, the legend, Cosentino. First of all, just to kick us off, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting today, and pay respects to the elders, past and present. Um, so, just to kick us off, I wanted to show everybody who has joined. We've got a very, very special little book here. It's called Tricked, a how-to guide to magic and illusions by Cosentino. Cosentino, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Very, very well. I was getting a bit anxious, guys, when I couldn't get on. I was thinking, oh no, what's going to happen? But we've made it happen, and that's. But I'm great. I'm very excited to be talking about this book. Is it too dark in here? Can you guys see me? Okay.
I can definitely see.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it
Good.
looks all right from my side.
Okay. Great. Just wanted to make sure. No, I'm very, very well, and I'm very, very happy to be talking about this brand new book, Tricked, which is. Look how beautiful it is. I mean,
Oh,
my
it's
gosh,
stunning.
isn't it stunning? I mean, yeah, a lot of work and effort has gone into that.
Yes, absolutely. That gold foiling, I think, is
Hmm.
a big favorite of mine.
Hmm.
I also love this kind of purple lighting you've got going on. It's very on theme.
Yes, it is. This is where I film a lot of my magic videos, and yeah, where we do interviews, etc. So since what happened with COVID, we decided to build a little studio. So yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
I love that. And now you've got a special little space for these TikTok lives that you're going to start doing all the time now, I'm sure.
Correct. Yep, kicking it off now with this one. Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it. I
Yeah,
want to have
of
a chat
course.
to you about the book. So I know you're currently on tour, is that right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
How's that going?
I've come back for a day.
Oh, okay.
So I came from South Australia. Where was I? Oh my gosh, I was in South Australia, and then I was in Majora, and then I went to Sydney to promote and talk about this book and some other things, and then we came back for a day, and then I'm back on tour tomorrow.
Well, straight back into it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And today we've been setting up and working on a new show that's coming up as well, and so it's we've got two. We have three or four different things happening at once.
Oh, wow. Is that kind of like an inside scoop, or is the TV show already widely known?
No, no, we're working on a new live show, which is my. It's called Decennium, which is my best of. It's a 10-year anniversary of all my magic, which is great because it coincides with my book too. Because it's the first time I've actually done like a proper book on teaching magic, and the tricks in here aren't just like tricks I'm happy to give away. They're really really good effects that I that I would perform and do perform. So no, it's not. We are working on TV. That's a whole separate. That's a whole another project. Multiple projects for TV. Mm.
Cool. Alrighty. So you just said it was your 10-year anniversary, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's insane. How did you get started in the illusionist game?
I started when I was 12 with a magic book because there was no YouTube, Google, TikTok didn't exist. So to learn magic, you learn from books. Now, I discovered a book by accident. My mother was a school principal. I had a lot of learning difficulties. I didn't learn to read till I was 12. I learned through a book um, that had these beautiful vaudevillian pictures and posters, very similar to what's behind me here. And when I
Wow.
opened the book, I saw these gorgeous pictures, and they look like comic books to me. They predate comic books, but they look like comic books. And my mother saw me with the book opened, and she thought, "Oh my gosh, hallelujah!" She came over and she said, "What are you looking at?" And I pointed to a picture which happened to be of the famous escape artist Houdini. And I was fascinated by just the picture. And we took the book home, and my mother read these stories and adventures and escapades of the great Houdini to me. And she would, we learned about stories where he'd jump off bridges handcuffed and chained, and he would escape from all these jail cells around the world. And people thought back then in the early 1900s that he melted and dematerialized through all of the restraints. They didn't think that he picked the locks. They thought he melted through them. And I said, oh, he's a superhero. And my mother said, well, no, he's not a superhero, because he's a real man that did these real things. This wasn't make-believe. That was fascinating. So my mum would read those stories, and I would listen to this book. And in the back of the book, there was magic tricks, but they were very difficult. They were designed for adults. So my mother would sit with me very patiently. We would read each word, we'd break it down, we'd analyze it, then we'd look at the little illustrations in the book. And then through this process of repetition, reading the words, breaking them down, looking at the pictures, then applying it to my hands, I learned to read. Of course, reading's linked to writing and spelling, but more importantly, it was linked to confidence. So you can imagine, as a 12-year-old kid who couldn't read, I would sit up in the back of the classroom, avoid being asked a question, keep my head down, didn't want anyone to pay attention to me. Very shy, cripplingly shy, hiding away from everybody, to now being able to read. And I gained a very unique skill, which was the skill of magic. So I learnt magic and to read from a book, which is why, to me, it's not just like, hey, I've written a book, here you go. No, this is like a completion of the circle. Learning magic through a book, magic becoming my hobby, my craft, my passion, my career, and then giving back, and hopefully reaching other people who are interested in magic, who want to learn some magic tricks, who are struggling with confidence. That's what magic did for me. It gave me confidence, because as a child I could do things that were seemingly impossible, make money appear out of thin air, double my money. I could vanish things, and that's a powerful tool to have as a child. So it wasn't seeing a magician on TV. It wasn't seeing a magician at a birthday party. It was just about reading and gaining a unique skill, and then performing it and having people go, oh, how did you do that? And making me feel really special.
I absolutely love that story. That's really beautiful. And so
Mm,
lovely that you could bond with your mom over that as well. And this has now become your life's passion. Would you?
correct. Sorry, just to jump in, which is why the dedication in this book says, for my mother, who always believed in my magic, because she's the one that started it all. She was very nurturing and very encouraging. So the things in this book, sorry, I jump around a bit, but things in this book, nothing is haphazard. It's not by coincidence. Like, the dedication is really important to me. I talk about in the book about overcoming being nervous. What do you do if you make a mistake? These things aren't in there just for the sake of it. They're in there because they're things that are very close to me. So when you're reading this book, yes, you're learning magic tricks, but you're really getting a genuine piece of me.
Yeah. Would you say that like so this obviously was something that you did with your mom and how you learned to read and stuff. So would you say that like at what point did you think to yourself, okay, this is something that I'm passionate about, but now it's something that I can actually make a career of? Like, this is something I can do for the rest of my life.
I started doing shows. I started my first shows when I was 13. Straight away, I was performing, but only for family and friends. Nobody at school ever knew that I did magic. I kept it very close. So I wasn't out there going, look at me, I'm so wonderful. It wasn't about that. It was just, I did it for my family and my cousins. And I liked it. I liked the feeling it gave me in front of my two older brothers, and being able to amaze them. When I was about 17, I started doing shows at schools, not my school, but I would go into schools as an incursion. It would take me 50 minutes to set up my show. I do a little hour performance with my brother. Then it'd take me 50 minutes to pack up the show. And then I was still in school. So I would do it. Like, I'd take time off school and actually put on these shows because I was getting work. That's when I realized, I can make a little bit of pocket money out of this. And I was 17, and it was kind of my, like, I wouldn't say a summer job, but it was instead of working at McDonald's or somewhere else, this was my job. And I would go into retirement villages and perform for the elderly and nursing homes, yeah, I didn't do a lot of children's birthday parties, but that's when I started. And I registered as a business when I was 17. So I think there's a TikTok thing that just popped on my head. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I was about to say.
I didn't do
Wow.
that. That's magic.
Oh yes, of course. There we go. First trick of the night. So you just mentioned that your brother would do tricks with you. Was that something you had to force them to do, or were they happy participants?
In the beginning, it started. Um, I needed help to carry my little equipment. So I have two older brothers, so they would help me with the equipment. My older brother, he's only a couple of years older than me. He would do the music. He was like a DJ. He loved DJing, so he would collate all my music together, and then I would be like, oh, you know what? If you're going to be there and push play, when we were talking about a tape recorder and then eventually CD. I said, if you're going to push play, and by the way, just so people understand, that was very complicated back then because we had multiple tape decks, and he'd take one out. We'd be playing on the left one, and then he'd put the right one in, and then the left one would finish, and the right one he'd push play, and then he'd take out the left and replace the next. And we had them all lined up on a table. So it was really difficult. It was very difficult back then, and we would do the same with CDs. So he was kind of DJing for me, and then I was like, "Well, while you're DJing and tape one is playing, you should run on stage and kind of help me with this particular piece. Just bring the table on." And then it went from, well, instead of just bringing the table on, maybe you can give me your arm, and I could saw your arm in half. So it everything again was very organic and happened out of necessity because I didn't have an assistant. I didn't have someone who could really help me. I just kind of, yeah, my parents say my biggest skill is not magic. My biggest skill is encouraging other people to work with me, to inspire them to help me. And I guess that's kind of true because I kind of sucked my whole family in to to do this.
Wow, that's so true as well. And like, you didn't have to write a book that like reveals your tricks and tips, like this is something that a lot of people keep hidden.
Mm.
So like that's something that you felt like was important for you to like share with others. Like
I
why
think, yeah.
go ahead,
Mm.
sorry.
No, no. I think the reason, first off, magic is a beautiful art form. I don't feel like it, especially in Australia, garners the respect it deserves. Like when you look at an actor or a singer, um, magic is so complicated when you perform it, and it can, and so it's challenging to do it really well. Um, and I've tried so hard in my career to really try and elevate. Like I hold myself to a really high standard, and I've tried to elevate the art form. I've tried my best to do that and do things that in this country make it like try and put it on a level that I think it deserves. Okay, so with that being said, you have to teach the next generation how to perform magic because it needs to go somewhere. It needs to grow. It needs to flourish. Um, and I mean, I feel a sense of responsibility in that because I think like the art form can be. I think people can do it better than me, and I think I've laid some really good foundations. And we can build from there. So inspire more than just teaching tricks. I think it's really about just inspiring other magicians, but not even magicians. It it's about inspiring people. If you learn one or two tricks and you can perform them really well and you can baffle people, that's great. You don't have to become a magician. It's not about that. It's about feeling good about yourself. And magic did that for me. So I guess I want to share that feeling that you get when you can perform magic, but also the feeling you get when you perform an effect for somebody else and they respond if they're shocked or whatever it may be. That's but my tools are, are magic tricks. So in order to give that to share that, I have to teach magic. Somebody else does it, maybe teaching dance or cooking. My skill set is magic, but it's not necessarily about the tricks. It's about I don't know. It's a book about tricks, so I get it. But it's about sharing that experience, the emotion people feel when they maybe see a trick, and the emotion you feel when you perform the trick. That's what's important, and that's what people remember.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think like what do you want people to be able to take from this? Like obviously you've spoken about confidence. Like who do you think who is this book for?
Um, well, everyone should know at least one or two tricks. Like people like to know jokes. Like everyone likes to tell a good joke. So anybody. Um, but if you're a budding magician, obviously this book is great because it goes through close-up magic, it goes through mentalism, it goes through stage magic, and then of course all those bits I talk about in the book about, as I said, showmanship, acting, presentation. So if you're a budding magician, it's like wonderful. And also, even myself, like I never look at a magic book that might be targeted at a younger age and think, oh, there's nothing in the book for me. No, I collect all magic books. Because I love magic so much, and I can always learn a different trick in a different manner from somebody else. So there's not, for me, the age doesn't necessarily, it's written in a way that makes it appealing for younger people. Obviously it's beautifully illustrated, but it doesn't mean that you can't be an adult and enjoy this. And also I'm an adult, and I love this book. This is this would be a book that I would have wanted. So I know I'm trying to make it sound like I'm selling it to you, like, for everybody buy the book, but it kind of is. Like, you don't have to be a child to enjoy the book. You can be an adult, and so just because it might be written in a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that all the tricks are basic. Yes, there's basic tricks in the book. There's also much more complicated. We have a star system in there. 1 star means it's very, very easy. 2-star goes all the way up to 5-star, where it becomes more dexterous. So that means it's quite, and I've done that on purpose. And there's also a lot of arts and crafts in the book too. So if you want to spend the time and build yourself an illusion, you can start off building it out of cardboard, and then you can go to actual wood. A lot of the props I talk about in the stage section, you can make out of cardboard, but I have in my studio downstairs out of wood. I've built them out of wood. So I give you the foundation to go off and do whatever you want to do. And the reason why I tell you about that is because obviously going into the garage and getting wood out and glue and nails and building these things requires a skill that I don't even have. So you could go that far with it. And that means that, it's super advanced then. So yeah, long-winded answer, but I really think it's look, the way it's illustrated, it's targeted for younger people, but I think everybody, it's for all ages.
Yes, absolutely. You've just touched on like multiple different things that I wanted to talk about anyway.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. In terms of the difficulty level, what is that based on? Like, is that, as you said, like dexterity, or is it like danger, or like what was that star rating? What's the difference between them?
It's a good point, because it was really challenging, because yes, it's based off like how dexterous you might need to be to pull off a particular move, like getting your fingers limber to do it. But then you get to the mentalism section, and it's about learning a script, and it's about your acting and your showmanship. So that was really hard to put into a kind of difficulty category, because some people might be more confident with their speech, and therefore they say, oh, this 4-star rating is really easy because I can learn my script really easily, and I'm comfortable talking in live in front of people. But then someone else will be like, oh, no, I'm far more, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk in front of people, but I'm far more comfortable. So I had to be really careful with how I came up with the system. If you want to know how I did it, I based it off myself. Like, what would I find more challenging? Would I find it more challenging to speak in front of an audience, or would I find it more challenging to do something with dexterity, or is it the combination of the both? And that's how I came from my, 20 plus years of experience of learning so many magic tricks. I I think I have a very good gauge on what really is considered beginner and what's maybe considered mediate, and then advanced. So that's how I based it off my own. I was going to say life, really.
Yes, totally. That makes perfect sense to me. I did see someone's just left a comment that says that would be an amazing book for a Christmas present, and I couldn't agree more. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Jody.
Yes.
Very good Christmas present for the kids, the teenagers, whoever.
Yeah, correct.
I did want to ask you as well, in terms of, as you just spoke about briefly, like props, what do you think every magician should have in their little bag of props?
I think you should have a pack of cards, some rubber bands, coins, and that's all you really need. You can 52 different cards in a pack. You can perform 52 different effects. So, and that's the other thing. We go through using just everyday household objects, um, paper cups, tissue paper, pens, and then more complex ones, which I touched on earlier about building it out of cardboard, using tape, sticky tape. If you want to go that far, maybe getting your parents to help you build it out of wood. I only mentioned that because that's what I eventually did. So again, I'm coming from my own experience. So I would start off building things out of cardboard, and when I really liked the effect, then my father is a structural engineer, and he helped me build it out of wood. And so I was very blessed in that way. But I know there's lots of kids out there that are very crafty, much more than me. So they would, I mean, I see what happens on TikTok. They would be able to come up with ways to put it all together themselves. But we give the instruction on how to do that. And really good things, by the way, like, things I've done in my television specials where we like predict a fantasy holiday. It's all in the book. Like you bounce a ball around and people give you different answers, where you'd like to travel, how you're going to get there, how much it's going to cost. And you have it all predicted in an envelope. You take out the envelope and then you read it out to the audience, and everything that the audience said was predicted. I mean, there's some really good stuff in here, really beautiful gems.
I love that. Something else we kind of talked about a little bit briefly, so like about this book being for everybody, is that I feel like when you're a kid, you're much more willing to like believe the trick. Like as you said, like with Houdini, it's like people thought that he was just melting away and disappearing. So like, do you think that like, because I think as you get older, there's something about a magic trick that's still like there's that sense of awe and wonder. Like what's your favorite thing about performing for an audience?
Mhm. There are really only two types of audience members. There's the audience member that what we call in my business suspending disbelief. They go with the flow. It's like when you watch a great film. For example, the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park aren't real, but I mean they look real. And imagine if they were real. And you buy into the fantasy and you go along for it, because isn't that the point? That's why you've gone to that film, to enjoy that fantasy, whether it be a sci-fi film, or whether it be Harry Potter, whatever it might be. Suspending disbelief, you get caught up in the story. Audience member number one. Audience member number two, they like to analyze everything, figure it out. How's it done? And that to me is like someone who loves solving puzzles, or playing with a Rubik's Cube, or seeing how, taking things apart. Like, someone gets their iPhone and takes it apart and sees how it works and puts it back together. That's the type of person that sees a film like Jurassic Park, and they say to them, they know the dinosaurs aren't real, but they're more intrigued by, was it done with CGI? Is it done with puppets? They want to know how it all works behind. And in the end, like, it doesn't really matter to me whether you're trying to figure it out or you're enjoying it for what it is. I've come to this place in my career now where I get that people come from different parts of find enjoyment in different ways. But the magician, myself in my show, I'm not there to fool you in a way that makes fun of you, like, haha, I tricked you, I'm so clever. It's never about that for me. I want you just to enjoy, whether it might be a story, whether it might be dramatic, whether it might be scary. I just want you to enjoy the fantasy. So when people write things like, oh, it's done like this, and this, it doesn't really do much for me, because obviously, I know how it works, but I'm not impressed if you know how it works. That doesn't impress me. And I think that's what people, sometimes they get caught up in that whole, oh, we've got to figure out how the trick works. To me, for me personally as a performer, I get the most out of watching people's surprise, because I'm bringing to them that sense of joy and wonder, and that feeling, that, as you said, when you become an adult, you tend to lose you lose that feeling of magic, like when you were a child, and you had Christmas, and Santa came down the chimney and left you like, it's such a beautiful thing to have and to hold on to. And I guess maybe for me, I'm constantly like, I love that idea, that feeling, and I had a wonderful childhood. So I guess to me, being able to then gift that is really, really special, and a privileged position to be in. But I get that people sometimes want to figure it out. I understand it. I'm not ignorant to it. But I prefer, if I'm being really honest, the audience that suspends the disbelief.
Yes, completely. I think I'm very much that suspending disbelief audience member. I feel like every time I see a trick, I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
this person is magic. It's a
Correct.
great feeling.
And you know, isn't that's a beautiful thing to be able to see and you know understand that it's a trick and it's illusion and you'll go, oh wow, imagine if you know that's so because you don't get caught up in the mechanics or like it doesn't affect you in a way where you feel like it's insulted your intelligence or your
Yeah,
intellect because you know it's a trick and you're okay with that, but you enjoy the fantasy of it all. So, you know, you're not watching Jurassic Park or Harry Potter and being upset about the fact that you're going on the journey. You don't, you know that it's special effects and it's great. Like all these Marvel movies that are coming out now, it's okay to be caught up in that comic book fantasy.
yeah, it's all about imagination.
You know what? That's the best way. I just spent 5 minutes explaining it, and you said it in one word. It's all about imagination.
There you go. So, Cos, I wanted to move quickly just along to the actual writing of Tricked.
Mhm.
So, was this something like that was really difficult for you to write? Was it a really joyful experience? Like, how long did it take you to get it all down?
I wrote it in lockdown, and I was actually in the hotel quarantine. So I
Hmm.
really dug into it. I had 14 days, kind of, we actually had 16 days because once we got out, we still couldn't go anywhere. So I had 16 days to really, you know, to get it down on paper. But it took about, I think it was almost a year of full writing and putting and deciding what effects were going. Then it was another 6 months to illustrate it, to every effect, every trick. I took photos of my hands. I had a camera and I would take a photo of my hand, then I'd do the next move, take a photo. So I think I had 120 photos that I sent to the publisher of each effect that then could be illustrated. So I broke everything down. Um, and not every trick that I wrote made it into the book. They culled quite a few of them. So I had a lot of effects. Like I gave a lot more than was necessary on purpose so that we could put the absolute best in the book. Now, what does the best mean in the book? Well, it depends on again having a variety of effects that you could basically pick up and learn within a few minutes to having effects that are going to take, you know, I don't know, a few hours to some that would take, you know, bit more, a couple, maybe a day for arts and craft. You don't have to do that, go to that extent, but it needs to be in there. So we had to make room for all of that. Plus, we had to make room for all these really special kind of breakout boxes that I wanted about, as I keep talking about what happens when you make a mistake. What do you do? Because I've never seen that in a magic book. I've never seen anyone from personal experience, a professional magician, talk about what happens when there's a mistake. What do you do to overcome nerves? How do you get up in front of an audience? Um, Again, a long-winded answer. I give so much information, but a year and 6 months if I break it down for you.
No, I love it. I love this long-windedness. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to ask, what is the best memory of the book? It could be in the writing of it or in the like showing off of it. Best memory.
I think once I started to see the layout, not like this, but once I saw the first kind of layout, and I remember them showing me, I think it was like the opening page introduction like this. Let me show everyone. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. This is what I wanted. Because I really want to make sure the book, first off, you know, being hardbound, and you would know in the publishing world, this stuff, this is rare with like to have a book this
Yeah.
good. You can talk on that. I think maybe viewers don't really know that, but this is rare. And I'm so blessed that Hardy Grant went the extra mile to first off make it, you know, all color, because sometimes you don't even get color inside the books, and to be
Yes.
hard bound and to have all the gold leafing so it jumps out and a book that you can cherish and so as the author I'm very very proud of the way it looks and so glad because the effort I put into it um you know, it took, yeah, I mean, it's a huge amount of time, really. I mean, when I say, you know, a year and 6 months, remember, we were in lockdown. So if you were doing it not in lockdown, it probably would have taken even longer. But yes, when I first saw the book, the first kind of mock samples of the pages, that to me, when it started to come to life, I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be beautiful.
Yeah, this is like something special, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would say like and you're totally right. Like as soon as I got this book and I picked it up, I was like, wow, this is like not like your everyday kind of kids book. It is a very, very special. And I do really, really love this illustration of you. I think the illustrator you guys got is very, very talented. And did a
Yes. Now that, I mean, once again, that's going the extra mile, isn't it? Then sticking a photo of me on there to have this illustrated, to actually go to that effort. I think this was. I love the fact that we did this, because it makes it timeless. And it's the kind of book that, you can, because you can jump around in the book. You don't have to start, at page one. When you're starting to do some effects like card tricks, there's certain shuffles and fans that you have to learn before you can move on to certain card tricks. But you can jump around in the book, and that makes this book timeless. And that was important to me too. I didn't want it to actually date, and it won't, because it's got this kind of Art Deco vibe and feel anyway. So again, I think it was very, very clever that Hardy Grant did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Timeless is a really good word for it. I think it's something that you can kind of cherish and keep for many, many years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So Cosentino, I'm conscious of time. So
Yes, yes.
to spend just the last 5 minutes answering a few fan questions.
Of course, I would absolutely love to do that. I'm watching by the way, everyone, I'm watching the questions come through, which is wonderful. So did you want to ask? Did you want to ask them, or do you want me to just read them? Have you written some down that have come
Yes,
up?
we've got compiled.
Okay, great.
Fire a couple at you. So I know you've spoken about this a tiny, tiny bit earlier. Has anything ever gone wrong when you're performing a trick in public, and how do you recover?
Well, there's a question that just popped up here. Said, why are there no more underwater escapes? That's one of the questions, actually, from Rafi. I think it was Rafi 25. Things go wrong. Water escapes, Rafi, to answer that question, they're very dangerous. But in my new tour coming up, I am doing my most iconic water escape. Things go wrong in water escapes because you're holding your breath. You're really underwater. Forget the locks. Forget the chains. Just being confined into a little box and having a lid placed on top of you that you can't get out when you feel like it means you have to run that gauntlet. You have to hold your breath. If you can't, there's an inherent danger. I don't want to be morbid, but there is. And you have to be confident in yourself that you can get through it. You can get through that 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it might be. But when you're training and you're rehearsing and you're doing practice, things go wrong. A little rust in a lock and it doesn't open. You bump your head. These are things that have happened. I've had 7 stitches in my forehead. I've had 12 in my chin from a knife that hit me. I've cracked my ribs. I've broken my ankle from hanging upside down. And this all happens in rehearsal. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic and sound. It's all been caught on film. It's all been shown in my TV specials. Because like a stuntman, when you're in uncharted territory and you're doing things for the first time and you're pushing the boundaries, trying to hold your breath longer, you're trying to hang upside down higher, you're trying to drop quicker, your body can only take so much. And if you're doing it on repetition to give a perfect show to the audience, things go wrong and have gone. I've ruptured my eardrum going underwater, blew that, going 10 meters deep. So many things have gone wrong. So, but don't worry, the trick book, I haven't got any of that in there, so that's okay.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I was about to say, magician career not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you might be able to see more comments than I can. So we do
Okay.
hear that we've collected, but if there are any that pop up that you want to answer, absolutely go. So
Okay.
okay, I'm going to hit you with one. So I want to be a magician. Where do I start?
Oh, well, that's very easy. You grab yourself a tricked book and you start reading from page one all the way through. You carry this. This is your guide on how to learn magic. And yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to sound conceited or in any way. When I was growing up as a kid, I didn't have any, like, I had a magic book, but it wasn't from an Australian. And there might be internationals on here. I'm not sure, but it wasn't from an Australian. And that made my life really, really challenging because all my heroes seemed to be from overseas. And being in Australia and being from Melbourne, that seemed like the dream was almost too big. And if I was an actor, I could have looked at someone like Hugh Jackman and gone, oh, I want to be an actor like Hugh Jackman, or I want to be in a band like 5 Seconds of Summer, or In Excess, or or maybe Kylie Minogue. I don't know. Like there was lots of different, like there was musicians and actors that as an Australian you could look up to, but there was never an Australian magician that had their own TV shows, that was touring nationally at a really high level, that was releasing books. And so I only couple that with the question you asked, because not only can you learn to be a great magician from this book, but you have access to me. And I'm not saying, I don't want that to come off. I don't want that to sound wrong. But I didn't have that, and that would have been very encouraging for me as a kid who was struggling. If I could have seen someone like me who was a kid that couldn't read, now written a book, had TV shows, blah 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 blah, it would have been a great thing for me. I don't know. I'm hoping that is for other people. I don't know, but yes. So this is the place to start.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And it did not sound conceited at all. I think
Oh, good.
you are like Australia's biggest magician, superstar magician. I want to ask you, who's your kind of magician idol? And also, just to piggyback off that, what is your favorite trick of all time, whether it's performed by you or someone else?
Yeah. My favorite magician, I started off being obsessed with Harry Houdini and all his escapes from that book. When I was 13, it was a magician called David Copperfield who was super theatrical. And the one effect, it's got nothing to do with me, the one effect that I love the most is I saw David Copperfield fly across the stage, and I was a little boy, and it blew my mind, and it was so theatrical. And even still to this day, when I watch it, it is just put together so well, and it's so beautiful. The next question people have asked is, would you like to do that? Absolutely. I would love to be able to do that one day in my own way, in my own interpretation. Absolutely. It's a very challenging illusion to pull off when you're traveling from venue to venue. It's something that I would do when I'm in a permanent venue. And it's just beautiful. So yeah, so Harry Houdini, David Copperfield. Then when I was a teenager, there was another magician called David Blaine. And then it moves on from there to people like Chris Angel and Penn and Teller. These are people who have all inspired me. And I'm not shy about that. I know a lot of magicians tend to be really shy about who has inspired them. I'm not, but I'm very open about it.
Great, awesome. I love that. So just to finish up, would you by any chance like to perform a trick from the book for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And with
Awesome.
that being said, there was a question saying, is there an age where it's too old to start magic? No, I don't think so at all. Once again, this is not a sell. I don't know. Like you don't have to learn from me. You can learn from other people, but I don't think there's an age where I don't think there's a cutoff age. It's not like, well, the beauty is it's not really like a sport. So it's not like oh, I've got bad knees, or I can't, you don't have to hang upside down. You don't have to jump in and out of water tanks. You could do a card trick like that I'm going to show you. So, Hannah, you have to help me though to do this card trick, okay?
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorites. So, can you see? Oh, you can see there. So I've got a little prediction here. I can't show you what it is. I'm going to place it on the table, but you need to be able to see it. Great. And a packet of playing cards here. I'll show you that all the cards are different. That's important. Great.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to give the cards a little shuffle. If you can see my hands, I'll come back.
Yep.
Like so. So we give the cards a little shuffle. Now, there are 52 different cards in a pack. And all you have to do is choose any number between 1 and 52. It's entirely up to you, whatever you like.
Okay, I've got it.
You can tell me?
10.
10. Okay. So I'm going to count down 10 cards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You sure you want 10?
Yes.
10. So that's the 10th card. I'll place it over here. Can you see the cards? Or is it writing on top of it? You can see them? Okay.
Yeah, I can see them.
Now, if you'd gone 11, that's where you would be. Can you see that? If you'd gone 12, or 13. So obviously a different number, because we shuffled the cards, would mean that you'd be on a different card. You understand that. And if you'd gone smaller than 10, so let's go backwards. What would you on? So what would 9? 9 would have been the 5, and then the 4 would have been 8. So you understand that different number would have landed on a different card. Okay. You said 10, and you landed on, let's have a look. Okay, you landed on the 6. I made a prediction
Yes.
before we started. You chose the number.
Yep.
Right? So you landed on the card 6 of diamonds. You said the number 10, right? So
yes.
Let's check this out.
Stop it.
I mean, you chose the number.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you how you did it, but
well, it's in here.
It's on.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you. It's basically one of the easier cards one of the easier tricks to actually learn. And I'll tell you, it's on page 18.
Perfect.
But you've got to buy the book.
There you go. You absolutely have to buy the book. Cosentino, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been so great talking to you about magic and about your new book, Tricked. And if anybody watching wants to buy a copy of Tricked, if they have not already, you can buy it from booktopia.com.au.
Well, thank you for your time, Hannah. You've been wonderful. And thank you, everyone, for jumping on. I had no idea what this would be like, or how many people would jump on, or if you'd ask questions, or what really happened. So I appreciate people taking the time out of their lives to just jump on and say hello and even ask questions. And now I have a question for people. If these questions here, will they continue to be up? Will I be able to answer them? I know people have asked a lot of questions. Is that, or do they go? Have they disappeared?
I am not 100% sure.
Okay, no worries. Well, we'll work that out. But again, thank you, everybody, for jumping on. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Booktopia, for having me. And I wish we had more time, but it is what it is. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will talk to you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.